Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. Welcome to Fundamentals of Theory 5, session number 2. We are going to be starting on page number 6. We got to the end of page 5 for our last video. Apologies for it being a little bit on the long side, but again, since we're getting into some really advanced theory concepts now, videos will tend to be just a little bit on the long side. So let's go ahead and get started with our second session today. So first thing that we have here that I wanted to start with actually is just to recall how to access the stuff that you're going to be interacting with. Don't forget about your piano layout. Don't forget about selecting your red pen to do your edits and stuff in. That makes it really easy for me to see that stuff on the screen and to grade it. In addition, don't forget to do your Control Z for undoing anything that you're doing, or obviously you can do an eraser tool as well, which is this guy right here. Just drag it over top of it and that erases it. Again, if you want to draw actual circles for note heads, you can go into the shape feature, select this oval tool. I think it's just easier to freehand it. And last but not least, this plus and minus magnifier here will help to zoom things in if you need it or zoom out as you need it, which we'll be doing for some of these instances. So that's just a quick way of how to navigate it. Let's jump right into page 6. Okay, so a melodic line consists of a succession of tones or notes. Most melodies consist of scale-like passages and skips of different intervals. Most music is written in some orderly arrangement or quote-unquote form. A melody may consist of a group of phrases. A phrase is a group of notes, the last of which seems to mark a natural resting place, either temporary or final, called a cadence. We've talked a little bit about that before. The usual length of a phrase is 4 measures. A phrase may consist of 2 or more distinct units called motifs, or motives, A motive is usually identified by a pause in the melodic line or rhythm. This is shown by a longer note or rest. 2 phrases may combine to form a period. The first phrase is called the antecedent or question and ends on a temporary or half cadence, usually a note of the 5 chord, Roman numeral 5 chord. The second phrase is called the consequent or answer and ends on a final cadence. And again, that's usually the tonic note or a note of the tonic triad, Roman numeral 1. Periods may be parallel or similar in some way. Usually the 2 lines have the same melodic idea or motive, or contrasting, no similarities at all. Okay, so this is a lot of information. You're probably going to be referring to this paragraph quite a bit just to kind of reference the terminology that we're going to be using. So this first one just gives you an example of what a parallel period sounds like. And what it means by parallel is that this phrase right here is very similar to this phrase down here in terms of its rhythm and even in terms of its melodic construction. It's pretty much a copy and paste from, this measures the same as this is the same as this is almost the same, at least that portion of it is the same. And actually, you know what, even this part of it's the same, just the second part of the rhythm is not. One thing I did want to show you here is that this is in F major, right? 1 flat being F major. And it does say that when you're doing this kind of like antecedent consequent thing, that usually one of the phrases ends at a half cadence or something that usually ends in the note of the 5 chord. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick. So again, F major, that's the key that we're talking about. This particular phrase ends on a C, which is the 5 of F, right? F, G, A, B, C. So this ends on your Roman numeral 5, just as an example. And then this one down here ends on an F, and that's your Roman numeral 1. So just so you can kind of see what it's talking about with those like half cadences and 5 chords and 1 chords. That's literally what it's talking about. So I did want to actually play you this example real quick, just so you could hear what it sounds like. So hopefully this picks up on the recording. Here we go. All right, so hopefully you heard that particular part of it. If not, I'll try to splice it in later, but it should be working. Hopefully you guys heard that in that space right there. So again, it ends on this C chord. That's your 5 or your. It doesn't sound like it completely ends. It's kind of like a question mark, or again, it's the antecedent, right? It's the first part of it, where it's ending on something that's not like the final 1 chord like this one does. That ends on the 1, very obvious. It feels like the musical sentence is kind of coming to a conclusion, whereas this one kind of sounds like it's a question. So if that doesn't make sense, let me know that. Message me, email me, whatever form of communication is best for you, but that's kind of what it's talking about. So now that we know this information, now it says write the second phrase to this parallel period. Again, the notes do not have to be identical. They may be higher or lower and just follow the same rhythmic pattern. The last note is given. Okay, so a couple of things we need to consider while we're doing this, and this is actually going to be something that you're going to construct. I'm not going to construct this for you, but I will give you some hints so you can actually get this constructed. What I will say for this part, since we're talking about parallel periods, I will say use this rhythm structure. You can copy this, note for note straight down onto the line below that. That would technically be allowed if you wanted to just copy and paste this down to here. Or if you wanted to move it around, like it said, it doesn't have to be identical. It just needs to follow the same rhythmic pattern. So at the very least, make sure you're using 4/8 notes, 2 quarter notes, 4/8 notes in that order. But you can move around the notes. You could make, maybe make it B, A, G, C, D, A, B, A, G, A, and then it ends on a G down here. So that's just an example. As long as it's following the same rhythmic passage, it's going to be considered a parallel period because it's similar. Okay. You don't really have to worry too much, at least in this step, for ending it on this half cadence here or anything like that. But just going back to that, this key is in very obviously G major because it ends on a G right here. However, the 5 of G is D, right? But we're talking about this belonging in the 5 chord. So remember, if I were to make a triad out of this, now that A is this A, right? That's just telling you that it's still kind of ending in that quote half cadence or question mark. It doesn't sound like it ends in finality because again, this A belongs to this 5 chord right here. Again, it's not something you need to know for this. Whoops, one step too far. It's not something you need to know for this, but it is kind of reinforcing what it was talking about above that. So again, you're going to construct some type of parallel period, a second phrase to this. All you really need to do is follow this rhythmic passage. You can change around the notes as you need to. All right, moving on. All right, use the following melody to answer the questions at the bottom of this page. So now I'm going to actually play this next one for you. Hopefully this will play through. Let me get this queued up real quick. And I think I have it queued up. Here we go. This is the phrase that is on page number 7. Here we go. All right, so some of you probably recognize this. It's a holiday tune. I can't remember the exact name of it, but again, you've probably heard this tune before. A great example to talk about some parallel periods and answer some of the questions that it's asking. So again, I don't want to answer this stuff for you because this should be stuff that you know, but I'm going to give you some hints to where you should be able to answer this on your own. So first thing, what is the key of the piece? Well, it's giving you the key signature right there. And a good way of determining what the heck the key is look at the last measure. Again, if we want to make sure that the key of the piece ends on a tonic, it gives it a sense of finality. So it's probably going to be whatever that note is. I'm not going to give that to you, but considering that this is the key signature and that's the last note, that should be a pretty obvious thing. All right, how many phrases are in the song? Remember that phrases are roughly 4 measures long, so I'm sure you can figure out if it's 8 measures, how many phrases are in there. All right, first phrase ends in measure. So now it's just asking you exactly where it ends. Where does the second phrase or the last phrase end? Again, knowing that phrases are usually 4 measures long, it pretty much gives you the answer to that. Don't let the pickup note mess you up. We're just talking about complete measures here. Okay. All right, on which chord does the first phrase end? Use the letter name and quality of the chord. So kind of going back to what we were talking about before, we're talking about this. It doesn't necessarily have to end, or the midpoint, the first phrase doesn't have to end on the 5 chord. So you're pretty much just looking at, let's say, for example, wink, wink, hint, hint, that this is where the phrase actually ends. So you're going to just guess what the name of this chord is going to be. I would say it probably doesn't end on a tonic, just because, yeah, you could construct the chord like this to make it a 1 chord, but that doesn't sound like it does that for me. So maybe consider, what would be if that was the root of it like this. That'll probably give you a good indication for what that chord is, okay? In normal circumstances, I would probably play this on the piano in the classroom so you guys could guess it or add some accompaniment to it. But again, you should be able to mostly figure it out just based on the melodic line. Okay, and then this last one, or the next one, I should say, what chord is the final phrase in? Again, you're just going to look at this and use this as your root and probably assume what that's going to be. Okay. How many notes of the tonic triad are used? Okay, so for this one, I think you're just going through, and again, whatever you've identified as the tonic or the key of the piece, you're going to count how many are within that root, that third, and that fifth. So let's just say, for example, that this was, hint, hint, the key of the piece, and you were to use this as your reference point. Okay, how many notes of the tonic triad? Let's say that that's the tonic triad. You're going to find anything that's a G, a B, or a D and just count how many. So I'll just do it for the first couple. So there's a G. Actually, I should circle that one because that's also a G. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a D. There's a B, 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 and a B. So just in this first line, again, assuming, of course, that this is in this key here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 notes within the tonic triad just in the first line. So if you were to continue that through and count those, the G's, the B's, and the D's, that would be the answer to that particular question, if it happens to be that this is the key, wink, wink, hint, hint. Okay, how many notes from other triads are used? So pretty much everything else that you didn't count in there, that's going to be the answer to that. From which chord do the first 2 notes come from? Use the scale degree Roman numeral. So again, it's asking what chord this is within this key signature right here. Should be a very obvious thing. Okay, and then it says in measure 4. Let me see if I can get this in the same frame here. All right, probably not going to be able to do that. Let me zoom out just a little bit here. There we go. Uh-oh, it jumped on me. There we go. In measure 4, 2 of the 3 notes are in which triad? Okay, so it's talking probably about this one, and then you're asking, which triad is this? And again, I'm not going to say that it belongs in that G chord. I will give you that much. So what is B natural in the grand scheme of whatever this key signature right here is? Okay. So this is, again, just kind of testing your music knowledge. Again, I don't want to give you too much of this, although I think I gave you some pretty obvious answers for some of these. So if you have any problems with this, you're not sure, again, please message me, please ask, but try to complete this on your own and then ask me the questions afterwards and see if they're right. Okay? All right, let's move on. Write the second phrase to this parallel period. Okay, so again, it's giving you the first part of this, the question, the antecedent, then you're going to write the consequent here. Whenever it's talking about parallel periods, you want to keep the same rhythmic structure. So you should have 2 eighth note, quarter note, 2 eighth note, next measure, eighth note, quarter note, half note, next measure, and so on. Keep it the same, but again, you want to make sure that the last note here is something and probably whatever the tonic for this is, okay? And you're maybe asking the question, well, is it major or is it minor? Assume that it's major for right now, just because we haven't really talked about the minor stuff about that yet, but it also kind of gives you a big indication. Most pieces start on the tonic and end on the tonic. In most instances, that's what happens. So assume that this is a major key signature and you're going to end on, you know, whatever this chord is here. Again, you're just practicing drawing this. And again, the rhythm should be exactly the same, but you can move the voices around a little bit if you'd like. Play around with it, see what you like. Okay. For number 11, you're going to write your own two-phrase parallel period. Be sure to begin on a note on the tonic chord. And again, the tonic chord for this one, assume that it's major. So one flat should be F major. Okay, so you're going to start. It says that it needs to begin on the note in a tonic chord, so it could be F, A, or C. It's your choice. I would probably pick F because, again, it's the tonic of the piece. At the end of the fourth measure, end the note on the dominant chord. So the dominant chord in F major, dominant again being the fifth, Roman numeral 5. It's going to be something in the C triad family, so C, E, or G. That's going to be what the measure ends on around here. Something that's in that dominant chord. Okay, so you're going to start on a 1. This is going to end on a 5. You got your measures here that you're building, whatever, right? 1 measure, 2 measure, 3 measure, 4 measure. Make your second phrase similar to your first and end your last note on the tonic of your key. So again, that's going to end here. Okay, so you're going to write out, oops, forgot to circle this, sorry. You're going to work both of these things with these kind of limitations or you know, form structure things in mind. Again, you can write this however you want. You can make it in 4/4, you can make it in 2/4, 3/4, 6/8, whatever time signatures we've discussed so far. I will say, again, try to keep it simple, try to keep it easy, don't overcomplicate it. And if you really want to write something crazy that's in like 5/8 or 13/16, I guess you could do that, but just remember when I'm grading this, if you're going to make it super complicated, I'm probably going to grade it super complicated as well. So again, my advice to you, keep it easy, 4/4 or 2/4. And just remember that these stipulations are here. Got to start on the tonic, fourth measure has to end on a dominant chord, and the whole thing needs to end on that tonic chord of F major. Okay, and it should end on an F. Okay, don't end it on a note within that. Again, it's saying the last note should end on the tonic of your key. Okay. Okay. Now we're back to reviewing some seventh chords. So review the 3 types of seventh chords up to this point. The color numbers are, and it kind of gives you the answer right here, but it should be, give me just a second to erase that. That's interfering with what we're doing here. There we go. Okay. It's giving you the numbers right here. Again, that should be 7/1. Please feel free to copy this. 7/1, 7/4, and 7/2. Those are the ones that we've talked about so far. Write one of each on these given root notes. Do not change the root note. Be sure to use accidentals to cancel out previous sharps or flats when appropriate. 7/1, lower the 7th. 7/4, add the major key signature. 7/2, lower the 3rd and the 7th. Okay, so those are just reminders for what those are, but I'm going to say, again, 7/1 is a major minor 7th. A 7/4 is a major 7th. And a 7/2 chord is a minor 7th. Again, this is the triad, this is the 7th, this is the triad, this is the 7th, this is the triad, this is the 7th. I think it's easier to call it like that because it's telling you the triad is the first thing, and then the 7th based on the root is the next thing. Instead of trying to remember like what is 7/1? Is this a progression going from like most diminished to most augmented, or you know, spread apart, whatever? There's no real rhyme or reason to the numbers here, so this is, you know, if you like doing the number system or the color numbers as they're indicating, great. I like to remember it like this: major, major, minor, minor, or minor, I'm sorry, major, minor 7th chords, like that. Okay, so let me do the first couple for you, and then you're going to do, I'm going to guess probably at least this much. Okay, All right, so we're assuming that this is, you know, in the key of E, so that's our tonic chord. So 7-1, that is going to be a major minor 7th chord. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just so I don't have to squint to see this. All right, there we go. So first thing I'm going to do is hopefully not screw up my note heads. Oh, let's try this again. There we go. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is just drawing in the 3rd, 5th, and the 7th for each of these chords. Each of these will have a 3rd, a 5th, and a 7th in it. I'm just kind of doing the work ahead of time. So this is probably your tedious part of just drawing the notes in there. Okay, so I need to have a major triad on the bottom. So I need to make this E, G sharp, B. So there's my major triad, again up to there, right? Now I need to make a minor 7th. So normally D sharp would be my minor 7th, or sorry, D sharp would be my major 7th. If it's natural, that means it's going to be minor. So I've completely done this one. E, G sharp, B, and D. 7-4 chord. That is a major 7th chord. So I'm going to maintain my sharp here, and I'm going to add D sharp. Okay. And for this last one, I'm now going to make it a minor because that's a, what is it, a 7-2 chord? Yeah, 7-2 chords are minor. So now I need to make this one natural, and I need to make this one natural. Again, you can see the line very clearly going through the middle of that, so that natural belongs to that line. And I'm sorry, one more thing I need to make sure I fix here. I need to get rid of that sharp sign because this is all within one measure, right? This sharp sign is going to carry over to this G sharp here. All I'm doing is sharpening that D natural there. This doesn't mean that it's natural because, again, it's all within the same measure. So my apologies. If you accidentally draw a sharp sign here, I'm probably not going to take off any credit for that just because, you know, I know what you're doing and I understand the reason for it. And sometimes you'll see those courtesy or accidentals or whatever. In music, if you add it, don't worry about it, but just to keep it where it's saying, you sure to use accidentals to cancel previous sharps or whatever. So I'm going to do what the directions are asking me to do for that. Okay, now moving on into this one. Again, I'm going to assume that everything resets to natural because I've crossed a measure line right there, right? So everything's back to being natural. Now it's asking me to do a D major minor 7th chord. So again, I'm going to make my 3rd sharp. Now it's a major chord, and now I'm going to check my 7th. Normally C sharp would be in the key of D major, but I'm going to leave it natural because it's asking me to do a major minor 7th chord. So I'm going to leave that one alone. Now I've got to do a major 7th chord, or a 7-4 chord as it indicates in the directions. Again, if you want to add this sharp reminder thing here, you absolutely can do that. I won't take off credit for that, but we're assuming that this applies to this because it's within the same measure. So all I need to do for this one is add a C sharp, because now it is a major triad, major 7th, and now I'm going to cancel those out by drawing some natural signs on those lines. Okay, and that is the sequence for that one. Okay, and now let me go over to this last one here. Now I'm going to do this again. My measure line makes everything go back to being natural again. Here I go. Keep drawing in my 3rds and my 5ths and my 7ths. Again, I recommend just kind of doing this once you get, you know, kind of on a roll with this, making some good circles. It's kind of hard to just do them one at a time, but if you want to do them one at a time, you can absolutely do that. Okay. F major minor 7th chord. So normally that has one flat in the key signature, but I do need to make this a minor 7th, so I'm going to put a big E flat there. Now I need to make this a major 7th chord, so I'm going to make this a natural here to again raise that to being E natural as part of the key signature. And now I'm going to make it a minor 7th chord, which means I have A flat and E flat for those particular notes. Okay. All right. Sorry, my thing likes to jump around on me. Okay, so excuse me. You're going to be doing these last 6 examples. Yes, please remember to do these examples. You can pretty much copy exactly what you're seeing on the screen because that's the right answers for those 3 questions, but you should additionally do those 6. Okay, you should be doing all 9 in total. You can copy those first 3. All right, let's move on. Page number 9. Another scale commonly used in Oriental music is the pentatonic scale. The pentatonic scale uses only 5 tones, hence penta 5. The easiest pentatonic scale can be found by playing the 5 black keys on the piano, beginning with F sharp or G flat. See how the 5 notes are written in either sharps or flats. Don't use sharps and flats on the same scale. So it's just giving you an example right here and right here. Okay? And just so we can refer to our piano layout, this is, let's see here, here we go. So it's saying start here, then there, then there, then there, then there. Okay, pretty much giving you those 5 tones to use for your pentatonic scale. So look at the above pentatonic scales and write the whole and half step patterns in the blanks below. Okay, so now I'm going to analyze what that is, what this is, what this is, and what this is. Just answering what those relationships are. So what is F sharp to G sharp? What is G sharp to A sharp? What is A sharp to C sharp? And what is C sharp to D sharp? Okay, so let's go back and check this out. Hopefully you guys are pretty decent at knowing how to do this by now because I'm going to do all 5 in a row just so we can go back and answer. So F sharp to G sharp, I have to skip over something to get to this tone, so that is a whole step. Same thing here, that is another whole step. Now I need to jump from here to here. That's going to be, that would be a half step, this would be a whole step, this would be a step and a half. So this one's going to be a 1.5, and then from here to here, again, it's just another whole step. So I have whole step, 1.5, and whole step. This pentatonic scale it's asking me to do. So let's write it down. Whole, 1.5, whole. Okay, so using this little whole and half step pattern, excuse me for just a second, that is a horrible looking W. Let's try this again. There we go. Write a pentatonic scale on each of these notes. Okay, so I need to go a whole step up from D, E. I need to do a whole step up from E, that is going to be F sharp. I now need to do a 1.5 step away from F sharp. So I'm going to refer back to my piano just to make sure that I do this properly. Here I go. Starting from F sharp, I'm going to do, that's a half step, a whole step, and now another half step. So I'm going to be doing A natural, I guess, for this. Okay. Here I go. So I'm going to skip this all the way up to A natural, and then I do another whole step up to B natural. So there is my pentatonic scale for D major. I'm going to let you all do this one on your own, starting on B natural. Don't forget to add sharps for the notes. And again, you're following this little pattern of whole step, 1.5 steps, and whole step. Okay, going from whole step, 1.5 step, and whole step for that last tone. If you have any questions on this, please feel free to ask. Okay. A 7/3 chord is a 7th chord made up of a diminished triad plus a minor 7th. Remember, the easiest way to build this scale is to figure out the major key signature for the bottom note, then lower the middle note of the triad, the top note of the triad, and the 7th of the chord. If you try to figure the half steps from a minor third from the 5th of the triad to the 7th, it will create problems that will appear to be 4 half steps instead of 3. Okay. Build 7/3 chords. On these given roots, do not change the root. The first one is done for you. Okay, so as I said before, we're trying to remember, like, you know, what is, you know, the number associated with the chord here. And most theory stuff that I've ever dealt with, they would actually call this a half diminished 7th chord. When we get to the, I believe it's the 7/5, I'll talk about the difference between half diminished and fully diminished, but you need to know what the 7/5 chord is before we do that. So all this is saying is, again, it is a diminished triad plus a minor seventh. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to this as a half diminished seventh chord. Again, I'll explain what the difference is between half diminished and fully diminished once we get to that chord. I don't think it's in this block. Let me just check and see real quick. I think we're getting up to the bottom of page 12. Oh no, we are going to get to it in page 12. So I will hopefully be able to describe this once we get there today. Okay, so again, make sure you're thinking of this as kind of two different parts to kind of get the final answer. Diminished triad, minor seventh, okay? Also known as a half diminished seventh chord. So here we go again. Let's build some seventh chords. Let me zoom in. Where are we at? There we go. Again, I'm going to add, whoa, help if I drew the note heads properly. There we go. And there. Okay, again, I've got my root, my third, my fifth, and my seventh. I now need to make a diminished chord, which you should know how to do based on previous theory levels, but that is, again, a minor third and a diminished fifth. So it's not a perfect fifth anymore, it's a diminished fifth. This is a great one to start on too. You know, actually, let me talk about this chord first, then I'll get to this one because this one's kind of an interesting one. So let's talk about this chord first. C, E flat, B flat. I'm sorry, C, E flat, G flat, B flat. So again, it is helpful to think of these as two different parts of the problem. So I have my diminished chord here, C, E flat's a minor third. Normally my fifth would be G natural. If I lower that a half step, it is now a diminished fifth. So this is a diminished triad, C, E flat, G flat. And then my minor seventh, my major seventh would normally be B natural. I'm going to make it flat to make it a minor seventh. So there's your diminished triad with a minor seventh on it. Okay. Now let's talk about this chord. E flat major normally has three flats in it, B flat, E flat, and A flat. Really the two ones that we're talking about here. I'm just going to put this in here for right now. That should be what a normal key signature E flat major major seventh chord should look like. So now we're going to start reducing stuff. I need to make the third flat. Let me draw that again to make sure that that line is going right through the middle of it if I can today. There we go. Okay, that is now an E flat minor minor triad on the bottom. I am also going to continue my minor trek and add a D flat on the top to make this a minor minor seventh chord. Now here's the fun part. This is a minor minor seventh chord. However, I need to make the fifth diminished. How do I make this diminished? Well, we did talk about double flats in the previous theory lesson, so that's how you do it. It is E flat, G flat, B double flat, D flat. That is a 7/3, or what I like to call a half diminished seventh chord. That's this kind of standard notation for what a half diminished looks like. It's a degree sign with a slash going right through the middle of it, and then a 7 right next to that. Okay. Let me do a few more of these, and you guys are going to do, I want you to do a lot of practice on this, so I'm going to give you 5 problems to do. Okay. So here we go. We're doing the next 2 chords. Again, I'm just going to draw my third, my fifth, and my seventh. I'm going to go ahead and do it for this one too, just because I want to draw all the circles at the same time and then just modify. Okay. D major normally has F sharp and C sharp in it. I'm going to not draw those and then erase them. D minor has 1 flat in it, which is B flat. So I'm going to leave my F natural, that's a minor third. I'm going to leave my C natural, that's a minor seventh. And I'm now going to make my A flat to make that a diminished fifth from this D to that A flat. That is a half diminished D seventh chord. Here we go for A minor, for A. Normally A major has 3 sharps in it, that is F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. I'm going to leave the C sharp and the G sharp natural because that's my minor scale, and I'm just going to make my E flat. I'm having a hard time drawing flats today. There we go. That is a half diminished A seventh chord. Okay. So again, you're just thinking of what the major key signature is and making them minor and then making that fifth diminished. That's pretty much it. Okay. Any questions on this, please let me know. I know this can kind of start to get a little bit weird with all these, like, you know, different interval relationships, but that's what it is. Okay, please let me know if you have questions on this stuff. All right, let's move it on. Our video is starting to get a little bit on the long side. I think we're just about to hit that 35-minute mark. We have about 2 more pages I think we need to do. 3 more pages. Okay, so let's get cranking on this. Okay, review the 70 or the 70 chords that you have learned up to this point by filling in the blanks. Okay, so this is asking you. I want to let you guys do this on your own. So a 7-1 chord, which is a major 7th chord. I'm sorry, a major minor 7th chord. Let me write this here. That's the 7-1. A 7-2 is a minor 7th chord. A 7-3 chord is a half diminished. And a 7-4 chord is a major 7th chord. Again, as you can see here, there's no like rhyme or reason to like how this progression works. It just kind of fills it in. I don't know why they did it that way, but this is just so you don't have to scroll back and figure out like what is the 7-1 chord again. I've just told it to you. 7-1 is a major minor 7th. 7-2 is a minor 7th. 7-3 is a half diminished 7th. And a 7-4 chord is a major 7th chord. So again, I'm pretty much giving you the exact answers that you need here. This tells you the triad. This tells you the 7th. The only one that you can't directly figure out is the 7-3 chord, just because it doesn't give you like the major minor part of it. But for the other 3, it's literally telling you the answer. What kind of triad is this? Major. What kind of 7th is it? Minor. What kind of triad is this? Minor. What kind of 7th is it? Minor. Skipping over to 7-4. What kind of triad is this? Major. What kind of 7th chord is it? Major. For 7-3, what kind of triad is it? Diminished. What kind of 7th is it? Minor. So I just told you the answers for those, but still fill in those answers here and here. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to put this into practice. Identify the following 7th chords by determining the type of the triad and the type of 7th on the top. Place the correct number below each triad. Okay, so we're going to use this as kind of our key right here to figure out what we're going to write here, because it's asking you to write those numbers right there. Okay. But I'll probably be referring to them as the major, etc., 7th chords. Okay, so this first one, F, A flat, C, E flat. So I'm just going to start at the bottom and work my way up. F to A flat, I know that is a minor 3rd. That is immediately canceled out the 7-1 and the 7-4, right? Because if this is a minor 3rd, these are my only options that I have left to actually select, right? It could be a diminished triad or it could be a minor triad. I haven't checked the 5th yet, so I don't know that yet, but I've automatically ruled out those 2 7th chords because that first interval is a minor 3rd. Now, let me get rid of this just so I'm not cluttering it up. All right, F to C, I know in my major key signature or even my minor key signature, F to C is a perfect 5th. So that pretty much rules out this one now. It's not a diminished chord, it is a regular old minor triad. And the only thing that has a minor triad in it that we haven't eliminated is this chord right here. Now, just for the purposes of this, I want to check the 7th just to be sure. It should be a minor 7th on the top. F to E natural is a major 7th. When I make E flat, that is a minor 7th. So yes, that is correct. This is a 7-2 chord. Hopefully you saw how I just did that. I'm just starting from the root and I'm working my way up to eliminate possibilities here. All right, E to G sharp, that is a major 3rd. So that is automatically ruling out minor 7th and half diminished 7th. It is going to be one of these 2. I don't know which one yet because I haven't checked the 5th or the 7th. Let's continue. I don't really need to check the 5th because for both of these options, the 5th is going to be a perfect. You can check it if you want. E to B natural, yes, that's a perfect 5th. Now I need to check the 7th to determine whether it's minor or major. E to D sharp is a major 7th, so that eliminates that. That is my answer, a major 7th chord. Get rid of all this stuff so it doesn't clutter up our stuff for future problems. We said it was a major, so this is 7-4. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more and then I'm going to leave these 5 for y'all to do on your own. Okay. D, F sharp, A, C. D to F sharp is a major 3rd. I can check my 5th. I know that it's going to be perfect because my major 3rd makes that 5th perfect every single time. D to C is a minor seventh. So this is a major minor seventh chord. This is a 7-1 chord. All right, here we go. G, B flat, D flat, F. G to B flat is minor third. So I'm going to eliminate major minor seventh and major seventh, or the 7-1 and 7-4 chords. I'm going to check my fifth to determine whether it's diminished or minor seventh. Here I go. G to D flat, that is a diminished fifth, because normally G to D is a perfect fifth. I make the D flat, now it's a diminished fifth. It's pretty much telling me that this is going to be a half diminished seventh chord or a 7-3 chord. I could check my seventh, but again, the seventh is going to be minor in both cases, at least for these examples. Eventually, you're going to have to check that seventh for the upcoming fully diminished 7-5 chords that we're talking about, but we haven't gotten that far yet, so you don't really have to check the seventh, but you can if you want to. So that's the way that I figured out how to do those. I'm sure that there's going to be one of each here plus a duplicate of something, so let me know if you have questions. Okay, sometimes the melodies are not parallel but contrasting. The first phrase will present a melodic idea, and the second phrase introduces a new idea instead of repeating part or most of the first phrase. So let me play this next example for you. Hopefully this is going to play. Give me just a moment here. All right, I think this is the right one. Let me make sure I've got it, and here we go. Oops, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Gotta go one more over. All right, I'm going to play that one more time. Sorry for playing the wrong audio example. I've got them all in different parts of my computer. So let's play it again. And again, we're looking at this thing here. Notice that the first half of it starts with a half note, and then it's a bunch of quarter notes. This one starts with all quarter notes. So it's kind of similar, but it's different in terms of the notes and the rhythm now. So that's why it's called a contrasting instead of a parallel. Okay, get rid of all this scratch here, and here's the example again. Okay, so hopefully you could hear that it's slightly different. I mean, you know, we're talking about little 8-measure masterpieces here, so it's it's you know, you can't really stretch this out and develop the ideas, but as you can see, rhythmically, yes, it is different. Okay, write your own contrasting phrase for the following phrase of music. So in this case right here, you are going to write a different rhythm structure. So maybe do some eighth notes in your first measure, maybe do like a combination of eighth notes and quarter notes here, maybe do like, you know, quarter, 8-8 quarter note here. And then again, you want to finish this on the tonic. In this case, it's B flat major, so just make sure you end it on a B flat. Or if you want to do this B flat down here, whatever works for you. Okay? So that's what it's asking you to do for that example. Okay? Just change the rhythm. That should be all you need to do for that. Okay? All right. The first phrase of a melody is called the second phrase of a melody is called the, and a period is made up of how many phrases? I believe that's 2 phrases, but let me just double check. It gets in this big paragraph up here. 2 phrases may combine to form a period. So there it is. Okay. The answer to that one is 2. Boom. Okay. Page number 11. Still got 2 more pages to go just to make sure that we're not making gigantic 60-minute sessions. But like I said, the sessions are going to tend to be long because we're in theory 5. That's just how it is. All right, here we go. A whole tone scale consists of 6 whole steps in 1 octave. This scale may begin on any note. Notice that it skips a note at the end of the scale. This skip can take place between the last 2 notes or between the 5th and the 6th notes. And I have a little thing here that says or the 4th and the 5th for the first example. So I'm going to show you a weird exception to the rule here because of the note they happen to start this on. But for most 99% of it, that skip is going to occur between the last two notes or the fifth and the sixth notes. But for this one, it happens to be between the fourth and the fifth, just so we follow all the rules for it. Okay. Remember this so you can use all sharps or all flats in the scale, not both. Okay, so here we go. I've got to do whole tone scale starting on B flat. So let's go back to here and figure this out. We're starting on B flat. A whole step would be C. Another whole step would be D. Here. The skip is going to happen here, right? Because I have to do a whole step. So that's all the way up to there, there, and I finally end on my B flat, my starting tone. So this is all whole steps, okay? And I'll explain what's going to happen when we talk about this. This is B flat, C, D, E, G flat, A flat, B flat. And again, that skip is happening between the fourth and the fifth just to make it work for this example. It's rare when this happens, but it happens to happen for this one. Okay, I just built it. There's my C. Here's my D, my E natural. I need to skip and go to G flat here. I could write this as F sharp, but remember, I'm not supposed to use sharps and flats in the same key, right? So I have to call that a G flat, otherwise it doesn't work. And ending this on a B flat. And again, the skip should be happening between the fifth and the sixth notes, or the last two notes, but in this case, it's happening between note 4 and note 5. Again, that's just happens to be how it is for this particular scale. For these two, it should work where the skip is happening between the 6th and the 7th. I'm sorry, the 5th and the 6th and the 6th and the 7th notes for this one and this one, but for that first one, I wanted to make sure I did that for you just because it's kind of a strange one. So copy this one exactly. You guys figure out these two scales. Remember, first one is in bass clef, second one is in treble clef. You should know how to do that for both. Okay, more review for writing cadences. Check the Roman numerals to identify the major or minor keys and position of the triads. Place the name of each triad in the space above. All right, so here we go. This is capital 1, so that means that this must be major. That is in B flat major. My 4 chord is E flat. My 1 chord is again going to be B flat, first inversion. My 5 chord is going to be F, second inversion, and my last chord is going to be B flat. All right, now let's build some chords. I'm going to zoom in just so I'm not struggling to draw notes here. Sorry again for the skip. I don't know why it does that, but it sure does like to do that. Okay, I need to draw a first inversion B flat chord. A first inversion means that the D natural or the third is in the bass, right? And again, problems with drawing note heads. There we go. Okay, I don't have to notate that that's flat because again, that's in the key signature, right? Let me scoot that over just a bit so we can recognize that. Okay, I'm going to draw my fifth and I'm going to draw my doubled root. Again, I don't have to draw the flat in there because it's already there. Okay, I'm going to draw a regular 4 chord, which is E flat. And again, I'm not going to move this. I'm going to try to make the voices move as little as possible, but I need a E flat, G, B flat for this. So I need to have 2 E flats, a B flat, and a G. All right, and in terms of making this move around the least, I'm going to move this top note there. I'm going to move my F down to E flat like this. I'm going to go right back to the exact same chord as my starting note, or my starting chord, because it's easy. And it's the exact same inversion. Now I'm going to a 5-6-4, which is a second inversion F chord. Second inversion means that my fifth is in the bass, so I need to have a C here. And again, I'm going to try to move the voices around as little as possible, so like my soprano doesn't have to jump all the way up to an A or something up here. That's way too high of a jump. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in this theory packet, but if you start to get in that habit now, it makes it easy. Okay, all right, so here we go. Let's make an A for this one. Let's do an F for this one since it's the same thing. And now I need another, let's see here, I need another F. So looks like I'm going to have to do either a big jump down here or a big jump in the soprano, but this jump isn't too bad. That's only a fourth, so that's not too bad. Okay. All right, my last chord, scoot this over here. Again, I'm just going to copy my very first chord again. And now I have satisfied all of the inversions that it's asked me to do in the key of B flat major. And we do that, whoop, all the way over. Let me zoom this out so you guys can see it. And there it is. Okay. Y'all are going to do this one. This should give you an indication for what the key signature is. If it's a lowercase 1, that means that it's minor. So you need to figure out what has 4 sharps in the minor. Good luck. Let me know if you have questions on that. I can show you how to do it very quickly, but hopefully you remember how to do it from there, from previous theory lessons. Okay, finally onto a 7/5 chord. And this is the last page. Sorry for the length of this. Again, it's theory 5. It's kind of unavoidable. Okay. A 7/5 chord is a 7th chord that is made up of a diminished triad with a diminished 7th on the top. You can build a 7/5 chord by checking the major key signature of the bottom note and making sure each note in the triad is changed to include any sharps or flats from this key signature. You will then lower the 3rd, lower the 5th, and lower the 7th twice. Do not change the root note. Build 7/5 chords on these given roots. The first one is done for you. Okay. So now I have to explain what a fully diminished 7th chord is. That's what the notation is for a 7/5. It's a degree sign with a 7th after it. And remember, just again, completely unrelated, that is what a half diminished chord looks like. Degree sign with a slash through it because it's slashed in half. Okay, but now we're talking about fully diminished 7th chords. So let me take a second to explain this. First chord is a C, E flat, G flat, and a B double flat. So C to E is a minor 3rd, C to G is a diminished 5th. A normal minor 7th would be B flat, but again, it's asked us to lower the 7th twice. Okay, so let me take a second to explain this out on a keyboard. Uh-oh, forgot to erase that stuff before. Okay. I am going to go through and show you guys the difference between all 5 of the chords based on C. This is a 7/4 chord. This is a major 7th. I'm going to go in a weird order in terms of the color numbers, the 7/4, 7/2, whatever that stuff is. I think that this makes it a lot easier to see. This is a major, oh my goodness, major 7th chord. Okay, C, E, G, B. Major 3rd, perfect 5th, major 7th. Now let me do a major minor 7th. All I've done is change the 7th to be minor. This is a major minor 7th. Okay. Next up. Minor triad, minor 7th. This is a minor 7th chord. I should be saying the color numbers too. I'm sorry. This is a 7/2 chord. Okay. Minor triad, minor 7th. Now let's do a half diminished or a 7/3 chord. That is a half diminished 7th chord. Why is it half diminished? Minor 3rd, diminished 5th, minor 7th. Now, here's the description for what the heck is happening for this. This is a fully diminished 7th chord. But think of this A as a B double flat. Okay? In terms of how we're doing this, this chord, this fully diminished 7th chord, sorry, I went back too far. This is as condensed as a chord can be. I have a minor 3rd here, a minor 3rd here, and a minor 3rd here. I can't condense this anymore. It is the most dissonant, and by dissonant I mean the notes kind of don't resonate really well together. It has that kind of like wah, 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 wah. When you hear that on this chord, you'll hear a lot of those conflicting tones. The sound waves aren't lining up exactly evenly, which is what gives it that dissonance or that kind of off color tone. But this is what a 7/5 fully diminished chord looks like. The reason for it is because everything is condensed. It's as smashed down as it's going to go. Okay? Whereas a major, the opposite end of the spectrum, now I have all this space in here, right? I've got a major third here. I've got a perfect fifth here. And I've got another, in terms of like the G to the B, another major third. So again, I have a lot of room in this chord. All the tones are sounding pretty good. The only one that doesn't really sound that great is the C to the B, just because this really wants to kind of resolve up here to this C natural. But sometimes that's appropriate because you want music to lead somewhere, right? So anyway, that is the difference between all of the chords. If you want to pause that, take screenshots, definitely do that because that's giving you exactly how those chords work. So now let's do it with some examples. Ooh, it didn't jump on me that time. That was kind of nice. So as usual, I'm going to draw my third, my fifth, and my seventh. I'm going to go ahead and do this for all of these just because it's easier to do it all in one shot. And you guys are going to do the last 4 examples on your own. There we go. Okay, so excuse me. Let's start making some fully diminished 7th chords. Here we go. G to B. My normal major key signature is 1 sharp for this, right? That would be, just for this example, I'm going to draw this just so you can see what I'm going to do to all of the intervals here. This is a major 7th chord. Okay. This is now a major minor 7th chord. This is now a minor 7th chord. This is now a half diminished 7th chord. And this is now a fully diminished 7th chord. Yes, F flat, also known as E natural, right? So let me just go over to my piano real quick and show you how this progression works. I'm starting this on a G. I've got my B flat, I've got my D flat, and I have my F flat, right? Again, it's as condensed as I can get it. It's a minor third from G to B flat. It's a minor third from B flat to D flat. It is a minor third from D flat to F flat. It's as condensed as it's going to get. It does not get any more dissonant than that unless you start doing like whole step crunches, which again is sometimes appropriate, but in terms of 7th chords, that's how it works for this. All right, let's do this for F sharp, fully diminished 7/5 chord. Normally, this would be F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and E sharp. Yep, that's correct. All of these would be sharp if I was doing this for a major 7th chord. Okay, F sharp to A, that is a minor third. F sharp to C sharp would normally be my perfect 5th. I lower it to C natural, now it is a diminished 5th. Now I need to check and make sure that F sharp to E natural, I need to make this E flat, right? To make it a diminished or a twice flatted 7th. Normally E sharp would be major 7th, E natural would be a minor 7th, E flat would be a diminished 7th. Hopefully this is making sense and I'm not blowing your mind in a bad way. If you have questions on this, please message me and let me know because this is where it starts to get really strange. All right, let's keep it going. D, F, A, C. To make this a fully diminished 7th chord, I need to flat my A and I need to flat my C. Okay, once you get pretty good at this, you can look at it and just start doing this stuff in your head. But again, D to F, that's a minor third. D to A is normally a perfect 5th. I'm going to make it flat to make it diminished. D to C is a minor 7th. I have to flat it again to make it twice flatted for C flat. Okay, there I go. Okay, and I did promise that I was going to make or directly explain the difference between half diminished and fully diminished. The difference between those two is, again, that twice flatted 7th. That is the difference between fully and half diminished. If it's half diminished, the 7th is minor. If it's fully diminished, the 7th is diminished, if that makes sense. And when we say, again, fully diminished, the fifth is diminished and the seventh is diminished, so twice diminished, right? That's, again, as condensed as you can get it, fully diminished, because both the fifth and the seventh are diminished. Half diminished is if the seventh is just a regular minor chord. Okay, again, let me know if this is confusing to you. It's okay if it is, because this is really out there stuff. Okay, identify the following seventh chords by placing the correct color number under them. So again, we're just going to go through our chart here and figure out what is what. I have very conveniently written down what each one of these color chords are: 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, 7-4, and 7-5. I highly encourage you to write this down somewhere so you have a quick reference to what each one of the chords are. Okay, 7-1 is a major minor seventh chord. 7-2 is a minor minor seventh chord. 7-3 is a half diminished seventh chord. 7-4 is a major major seventh chord, and 7-5 is a fully diminished seventh chord. Okay, I would write it down just because once you kind of ignore the color numbers and start thinking of it as whether it's major major seventh, minor minor seventh, all that stuff, it kind of answers the questions for you. But it's asking us to answer this with the color thing, so I guess we're going to do that. Okay, you guys are going to do all of these just because I'm trying to cut down on the thing in the video. We've already kind of done this before. Well, actually, you know what? I should probably do. Okay, I guess I can't do one of these yet because there's 5 options, so I can't really do one of each of these, unfortunately. So I'm just going to do the first 2. Yeah, I'll just do that, and then you can practice doing the rest of these. Okay, D to F sharp. That's a major third that automatically discounts minor minor seventh, half diminished seventh, and fully diminished seventh. My only remaining options are a major major seventh or a major minor seventh. So now I'm going to check. I can check the fifth. I know that it's perfect. I have to check my seventh. D to C sharp is a major seventh. So major triad, major seventh, major seventh, also known as a 7-4 chord. I have to look at my chart as I'm still kind of learning what the numbers are too. Okay, F to A flat, that is a minor third. That immediately eliminates major major seventh and major minor seventh, right? Those 2 options are gone now. All I have left is minor minor seventh, half diminished, and fully diminished. Those are my 3 options that I have remaining, just because this first interval right here is a minor third. Let's check my fifth. F to C is a perfect fifth, which now means that this has to be a minor minor seventh chord, because both the half diminished and fully diminished means that the fifth is diminished. So this is a minor minor seventh chord, also known as a 7-2 chord. So again, when you're trying to figure out chords like this, the best thing for you to do is to reference that chart. Check the third first. If it's major or minor, that's going to eliminate some options for you and leave you with some remainders. Then you check your fifth, that should eliminate some more options. Then you check your seventh, that should eliminate your final option and give you the answer to what kind of chord, what kind of seventh chord that is. Okay. Okay. Draw a circle of fifths. Make sure you include major and minor key names, the correct amount of sharps and flats, and the enharmonic keys. The only thing I'm going to give you is this. Remember that the 12 o'clock position starts at 0. 0 sharps and flats for C major and A minor. Then you are going to go up a perfect fifth here. This way you're going to go down a perfect fifth. Okay, so this will be G major, this will be F major. I'm not going to give you anything more than that because you should know this chart. If you're really, really stumped, I believe the perfect fifth chart is the second, nope, page number 5. So this is what you want to check out. So you can copy this and get very familiar with it. But again, your chart should look like this once you are done. And that finally finishes out the second session for theory number 5. Again, apologies for this video being super long. We are at the, almost 55 minutes now. But the good news is I think this is going to be the longest video just because we had to discuss a lot of stuff for this. Melodic leaning, 7th chords are all finished and discussed in here. So again, I apologize for the length. That's what it is though. So please let me know if you have questions. Message me in Teams. Call me in Teams if it's during school hours. Email me. get that contact going. Again, it is okay to have questions because this stuff is hard. It is very challenging. It is okay to ask for help. Please do. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I will see you in the next session. See ya. Bye.